22. And no messing about there. Just sent up the stand side touchline. Not a huge amount of distance on it. So first chance for the visitors to attack. Linus finds his captain Leishman in the middle and quickly out to Houston. So he tried to drop the ball off to Callum Anderson. It was lost though. The Southern Knights looking to win that one, but no advantage accruing. And the referee, Holly Davidson, awards the scrum to the Southern Knights.
Yeah, just a bit. They'll be frustrated with this because Houston just tries to get the ball through the hands and he's perhaps hit the runner just a little bit flat. And that's, you know, something that Heriots have been doing a lot this season. They've perhaps not been able to strike and get the momentum in the game. And that's an early opportunity from a clearance kick from Colvin. Didn't make a lot of distance. It's a position that Heriots would be wanting to try and strike and attack, but they cough up possession and give it back to Southern Knights to try and get their first taste of the ball in hand in this game.
Edinburgh Rugby's Charlie Shield standing with ball in hand. Scrum half tonight for the Knights. 44 Edinburgh appearances, 5 tries to his name. And Sam Derrick controlling this at the base. Well, it's certainly first blood to the Southern Knights at scrum time. Perhaps no surprise, Jamie Jack and Luan de Bruin, the two big Edinburgh Rugby props. And Dale de Bruin is just a monster of a man, 128 kilos, only 6 feet tall, it's over 20 stone. That ball, however, been kept in by Heriots. And they look to keep that one in, so the Knights will counter-attack from here. Sent in field by Colvin, and then switch of play back towards the stand side. And it is Shield who takes it into contact, so Russell Anderson enacting as scrum half. De Bruin with heavy contact in the midfield, and then again down the stand side they go, and away goes Rudy Brown. Important tackle in front of the Heriots post. Again, options both ways for the Southern Knights. They go to the right. Chalmers out to Anderson. Well picked up off his bootlaces by Aidan Cross there. Jamie Campbell this time the ball carrier. Shield again finds De Bruin. Brought down by Jack Mann. Shield looking for runners there, but untidy. I don't think Jamie Jack was expecting that. Wasn't quite on the same wavelength as his scrum half there, and opportunity lost.
Yeah, but it was a great break, and I think that's what Charlie Shield brings to the Southern Knights team. He's got that little spark behind the ruck. He managed just to find a little space, and Brown was just running a really good line. Got the ball, made some good ground, and then the phases after that were pretty good. It was just a sloppy pass out to Cross, but when they came back, they perhaps forced that last move, just trying to exploit these little gaps around the fringes, but it wasn't there. But again, you see the line from Brown just breaking right through, and had no option but to try and clatter the fullback.
It was a good tackle by Dan King. He's a big man, is Rudy Brown, only 18 years old. 5 appearances for Scotland under-20s earlier this year.
Crouch! Bind!
So an early hit there by the Heriot scrum. Tap and go by Jamie Campbell. So it's once again the Southern Knights on attack inside that Heriot's 22. Russell Anderson, the captain this time. Shield finds Chalmers. Looked to offload there to centre partner Patrick Anderson. Opted to go himself. Alan Ferry this time. Both second rows involved in the play.
Play on.
That ball seemed to have been lost, but the referee says play on. As Wallace Nelson now arcs back towards the posts. On a lovely line there, and the Southern Knights are in. Great line there by Rudy Brown, very prominent in the early stages of this one. And with the game only 4 minutes old, it's the Southern Knights 5, Heriots 0.
Yeah, he just did that line that he'd run just a few minutes earlier. A nice acute line off the ruck. He just pinpoints that gap that was in defence and just bursts through. A big guy to try and stop it close quarters. But the good thing there from the Southern Knights is they were playing with tempo, they were playing with aggression, and they were getting the ball on their terms. They were getting the ball forward on their terms and taking the contact. So you know, a lot of good things there from the Southern Knights, which perhaps is, you know, has not been seen on a consistent basis so far this season. But certainly their tails are up in the early stages of this game.
It's David Colvin, the man tasked with adding the extras here from right out in front. It should be a fairly regulation kick for him, indeed it is. Ideal start then for the Southern Knights. Be low in confidence, just the 1 win and 3 losses.
Thank you.
I think probably the strongest side they have turned out this year, as we see again Rudy Brown crashing over under the posts. And almost a carbon copy of the first kick-off. And this time the Knights just finding a little more ground up the stand side touchline.
The line's going to be yours.
And these are the things that the Knights were perhaps not doing earlier on in the season. You know, they got some good points there, good try. When it's a deep kick-off, they've cleared their lines brilliantly and made some good territory off that as well. And that's the sort of basic rugby you want to be seeing. And, you know, it's a positive start from the Knights.
Linus again finds his captain, Leishman.
Backwards once.
They look to get this moving forward, but instead opt to go to the backs. Houston out behind there to Rory Steele, and there's space for Heriot down the left flank. Opts to put boot to ball there. And it will be the Knights who win the race back. It was Corey Winters touches down. You could see he had a thought there. He wasn't sure if he wanted a goal line dropout. And half a thought that he might try to run out. I think took the right option in touching down there, but there was space for a moment, Dale, down that left flank for Heriot.
Yeah, and I think that's the danger for Southern Knights, is the fact that they looked really stretched there. They got quite narrow in defence, and Patrick Anderson had to work hard to try and cover the space when, you know, when they managed to get that extra man over. So there's certainly danger on, and you feel that Steele could have just kept it in his hand, tried to run with the ball and eat up the ground a little bit more, because there were certainly opportunities to try and unpick that defence. But fortunately for the Knights, it was a sloppy kick through, and they can try and clear their lines here.
Heriot's backline certainly inventive under the guidance of Stuart Edwards. So Linus again, he's had 2 throw-ins, both times gone to Leishman.
No, they've said 6. They've said 6.
This time the simpler throw straight to Fraser Hastie. And they look to get this moving forward. Knights try to sack that, but managed to stop that, but away go Heriots again. Just outside that Southern Knights 22. And Gelderbloom to Houston out into the midfield, and Niall Godsmark couldn't gather that one. However, the referee was playing an advantage.
3 early.
It says that Luan de Bruin, the South African, hit too early.
Yeah.
You could see that as Hastie came down at the maul, he was just held up high because the early engagement at the maul. But you're just disappointed here from a Heriot's point of view that they weren't able to make advantage of that. You know, the free ball, it just got a little bit flat, a little bit pedestrian, and they got a knock on in midfield from Picure.
Boys, up and down.
Fantastic opportunity here for the visitors to get themselves on the scoreboard, currently trailed by 7 points to 0. Linus has been very secure with his first 3 throws.
Maul.
Once again finds his man in the Heriots. Line out, the Maul driving very quickly towards that Southern Knights line. They managed to bring a halt to it now. And referee Holly Davidson having a very close look, trying to get themselves over that line, and they are over. Have they got the ball down?
Held up.
Ultimately, good defence by the Southern Knights. That ball held up.
Goal line.
It's a great line-out maul from Heriots. Got themselves over the line. Can't get it down. Michael Linus, you can see his disappointment.
Yeah, but I think it was Jamie Campbell, the number 4, just with the black scrum cap. You can see himself getting his arm just in a dangerous position, so that Holly Davidson also has a, you know, her line of sight is impaired too.
Behind the kicker.
So it was good defensive play from them all, but the Southern Knights were under a lot of pressure there early on.
Option.
So another goal line dropout.
What do you want?
Very nearly
Line
made
out,
that
VP?
mistake last time. It just bounced in the field of play. This time it's gone straight out.
Line out. Okay.
And it's a good call to call the line out as well, because the driving maul on the last occasion looked really, really deadly. Southern Knights just couldn't set up quick enough from a defensive position, and Heriot will think they can have another opportunity here to try and unlock this defence.
It's careless from the Southern Knights. They find themselves back exactly where they were a moment ago. Once again taken cleanly in the middle of the line out. Southern Knights got better hit on, but once again that Heriot's maul, and they won't be denied this time. Michael Linus, the man to crash over. Well, it took them 2 attempts, but they have got themselves over the line. The Southern Knights will be kicking themselves after having the chance to clear their lines with the dropout straight into touch. And now they find themselves under the posts, having conceded a try.
You see them all here as soon as it turns to the right. 7, 4, 3, they're all null and void now because Heriots have been able to turn turn the drive and maul and just take them completely out the game. So, you know, the Southern Knights are pretty much left with Nelson and Anderson to try and defend that drive and maul, and it was coming at some pace. And you're not going to stop that from 5 metres out, and it's something that Heriots and also Southern Knights do so well. But on this occasion, it was Heriot who managed to get the try from that, from a well-orchestrated line-out move. Got their basics right first, and they were compact in their drive and maul.
Bruce Houston of Ballymena and Ulster, one cap for Ulster, recently signed on a partnership agreement by Edinburgh Rugby with Heriots. And his kicking has been exceptional this season so far. It's a difficult one, way out to the left, but he has caught that beautifully. Up go the flags, it's all square, 7 apiece.
Yeah, you're talking about obviously his past experience, but I think he's one of those players that deserves to be put in the shop window. He's kicked very, very well, he controls games well as well. But you can see here just another replay of the power in that drive and maul to get over the line, and Linus was eventually over.
Taken by Jack Mann. He's been one of the outstanding forwards in the competition in the opening 5 rounds. Just back from injury, takes play to outside the Heriots 22. And we go back to the short side.
One side, guys.
And Jed Gelderblom goes to the skies himself. Doesn't get as much distance on it as he would have hoped, but he's chased that well. It's been snapped up by Heriots. Now just on their own side of halfway in, behind the forwards, as Heriots look to spread it. And Ross Jones sends that one downfield. And another mistake off the boot by the Southern Knights. It's already cost them a try.
And that's 2 occasions. It's been Cam Scott as well, a really good playmaker. But there's been 2 occasions there where, you know, this kick's not went to plan. And that's one of the things that plays in the mind of a 10. You know, he wants to get into the game, he wants to have that influence, and there's 2 times he's welcomed a bit of pressure for the Southern Knights with poor kicking.
Three targets potentially in this line out for Linus. And it's Leishman that's moving from the back down to the middle, takes it again. And Heriots will certainly feel confident about their line-out maul. Well, that one's been brought to ground by Southern Knights. In fact, it's been turned over.
Yep.
And Charlie Shield looks like he will take on kicking duties himself here. Forward comes Steele. It's a fantastic take. Manages to stay infield. And Gelderblom quickly out there to Linus. He's driven back in the tackle.
No, 2, you're in the side.
Still on the Heriot side, Gelderblom to Houston. And this time they feel their space out wide. Long ball there from Godsmark. And Jack Mann running over people down that left flank, eventually brought to deck around that Southern Knights 10-metre line. And Heriots playing at pace here. Houston has a go himself with the orange boots on.
Counter ruck's good, play on, all back.
As they were about to go left again, Southern Knights have come in and disrupted that one. The brain out the back. Southern Knights a little short of players here on this stand side of the pitch. Managed to retain possession through Jamie Campbell.
No 7.
And again, Shield sends that one high and long. Taken at the back by Dan King. Cuts back infield. Tackled by Rudy Brown, the Knights try scorer.
Use it!
Captain Leishman calling players across
On side.
to the left of the ruck, but once again Gelderblom goes high off the boot. The two scrum halves trading kicks. The ball knocked on there. So we'll get a moment time on here.
Yeah, next one, if you keep him up, it's going to be a free kick again.
Michael Lioness. When do hookers ever wear red boots, Dale?
Yeah, it's a new trend.
First. Okay, so white first.
I think he's got a try on the board, so I'm pretty sure he can get away with it. But you know, this game's been quite interesting so far because Heriots haven't had a lot of time with the ball in hand, but when they have, they're looking to play wide, and especially this man here. They got Jack Mann in a bit of space, and David Colvin was just swatted away. But that's what they need to be doing: get their big runners in the wider channels, because they're very talented. They've got a very talented back row. Jack Mann, Callum Anderson, and Leishman are good ball players. You need to get them out wide.
You and I have spoken about this before in commentary. There's some players who can do similar things to Jack Mann in Super 6, but other teams tend to utilise them a bit closer to the breakdown. They're being hit by props and second rows, and they can't quite find the space. Heriots have told Jack Mann, you've got free rein, get yourself out into the midfield, get into the wide channels, and we see there exactly what you can do.
Yeah, you would say that. You would say Rudy Brown and Jack Mann are quite similar players, and they both had, you know, standout bits in this game. Rudy Brown hitting a little bit tighter, just outside 10, gets his try, and Jack Mann in the wider channels, in between the 15s, looking to try and draw these players in to get the space for his wingers. So, you know, there's different ways to utilise big men. You don't just have to have them as battering rams.
Benedict Grant of Stirling Wolves, another player that springs to mind. After a short break in play to sort out the hookers' footwear issues. We're back to the action. Gelderbloom escaping the clutches of his opposite number, Charlie Shield, but throws a loose pass to his halfback partner, Bruce Houston, who won't be particularly happy about that. Heriots just about retained possession. Out it comes to Linus. A hint of a knock on there. He must have regathered that before it hit the turf. Up there to Ross Jones. That ball's been lost though. Picked up by the Southern Knights. Away they go to the right. Cammy Scott finds Chalmers, steps off his right foot. Dives through the first tackle. Back to Russell Anderson. Nice little tip on there to Wallace Nelson. A quick ball for the Knights. De Brain. Then goes Campbell to clear out. The Knights just zigzagging down that right flank. Wallace Nelson again. A little ball through there by Cammy Scott.
Hold in front, Blue.
Dealt with well at the back by Heriots. Send that back down to David Colvin on his own 10-metre line. He sends it back. Jed Gelderbloom. Scrum half at the back for Heriots. And he finds a touch down the Heriots' left flank, but Southern Knights not hanging about here. Looking to keep the pace of the game high. It's a great carry. And it's back on Heriots' side of halfway. The ball squirts out the back of the breakdown. Charlie Shield has to go himself. Evades the clutches of the first Heriots tackler.
Use it, White.
De Brain again looking to get hands on the ball. Thought about offloading to Wallace Nelson, but I think he's enjoying the ball carrying duties tonight. Good footwork by Colvin. Southern Knights struggling to get any go forward here, still stuck around halfway. Shield again to De Brain. And this time to go wide. Chalmers looking slippery. He's held up. Lovely tip on. That's a huge contact there in the midfield. Alan Ferry, the man knocked back by the Heriots defence. And after umpteen phases going nowhere, Charlie Shield decides to put boot to ball, and that's a good kick by the scrum half.
That was a brilliant kick, especially when you've just been clattered in midfield and you look like you're in danger of losing the ball. He's just had a little look in behind, stabbed it down and got a good momentum on that kick. And all that Dan King can do is just watch that trundle into touch and That's a really good kick, but Southern Knights are playing rugby in the right areas. Defensively, they are up in Heriot's faces and forcing them to play inside their own half, which is bringing these errors in. And Southern Knights are really benefiting from, being really aggressive in defence.
So Michael Linus, who we've already said has been impeccable at line-out time, but he's under pressure here, about 7 or 8 metres from his own line. And the pressure almost told. And it was tapped back, and away goes Jackman again.
Onside, no, no, stop.
Back to Houston. That one will stay in field, however. A loud blast in the whistle of Holly Davidson. There's a bit of a scuffle going on inside the Heriots 22.
I was watching the flight of the ball. I missed what had happened, but obviously Holly Davidson will have a good bit of support from our assistant referees, so it'll be interesting to see what happened here.
No, I haven't either. Okay, 2 and captain.
Johnny Perriam over on the far side, and Ross Maben. And with Langham on this side. Russell Anderson, another Langham man.
We haven't seen anything on field, and
Southern
I get
Knights
that there might be
captain.
foul play, but we... Yeah, but... No. Wait, guys. We've not seen foul play. However, that cannot continue. Okay, so I want you to have a word with both of your teams. We're going to restart with a scrum where White caught the ball up there. It's going to be your scrum. No more. Yeah, yes.
Holly Davidson, very clear communication there to the players. And she's an exceptional referee.
I think she's a cracking ref. I think the way that she gains respect and forces, all referees, they have to have an element of respect from the players, and the way that she has all those players at her beckoning call. She's really clear in communication as well. But I think perhaps Heriots might feel that the Southern Knights were the perpetrators there, and I think Southern Knights are welcome getting the ball back to the scrum here.
Try apiece, Rudy Brown for the Southern Knights when the game was only 4 minutes old, converted by Colvin. And then Michael Linus, the Heriots rugby hooker, the man to profit from the line-out maul. It's converted by Houston, so score 7 apiece as we approach the halfway point in this first half.
Crouch!
Southern Knights scrum absolutely dominant in the first scrum of the day. Not been quite so much in the next 1 or 2 we've had. Let's see what they can do here. Certainly solid. Look to get some go forward. Now they might win a penalty from this. They do indeed. And it was actually going up on the loose head side there. Jamie Jack, another Edinburgh rugby prop. 64 appearances in the English Championship. 38 with Nottingham, another 26 with Amped Hill. So he certainly knows his way around a scrum.
No, step away from the scrum once it's over.
I think that's really good for Holly Davidson. She's already laid out the law in terms of discipline, in terms of these little bits of argy-bargy which are going on in the close quarters, and then she's punished Heriots there, marching them back 10, which means it's a nice kick at the corner for Cam Scott, and he can be 6 or 7 metres away from the Heriots line.
Well, we've already seen Heriots be very clinical from a similar position at the other end of the field. What can the Southern Knights do here? Russell Anderson, the man to throw in. He's taken by Jamie Campbell. That squint throw, so another wasted opportunity for the Knights.
Yeah, they'll be disappointed with that, because it looked like it was a well-orchestrated move at the front of the line out. They were trying to set something up and set up on a platform away from the main nucleus of players. You see here Anderson hit his target, but it just drifted off as they tried to set that up and charge their way over the line. So they've kind of shown their cards as well, because I think Heriots will be quite privy to that for the next time if they've got an attacking line-out.
It may well have worked for them, because there wasn't an awful lot of Heriots defence there as they dropped the ball down to the front of the line-out, just trying to catch Heriots unawares. But you only get one shot at that, as you say. So can Heriots clear the lines here? They're probably not overly happy to have a scrum so close to their own line, with the Knights dominant. They look to get this in and out. Jackman perhaps pick up. He has to go to the left. Dragged down by Shield.
He's on the body. He's on the body.
Heriots something to fight very hard to get this back. Pod of 4 forwards waiting just to shift play a little further out from the touchline, give Bruce Houston a better kicking angle.
Okay, 9, use it.
Gelderbloom, in fact, may well take on kicking duties himself. He does again, doesn't get a huge amount of distance on it. Will stay in field. Tapped back, though, by Jack Mann. Snapped up by Southern Knights, and there's numbers, there's space across on the left touchline if they can get it there.
No.
Heriot's defence have had time to reorganise. And the ball was knocked on. So Holly Davidson will go back for a scrum to the Southern Knights, but there was a chance if they could manage to get the ball through the hands. You could see that Corey Winters was screaming for the ball out on the left flank.
Yeah, you see Shield there, he just hits Nelson, and Nelson just wants to barge the ball up, and I think a confident team gets that ball through the hands. I think they move that ball away from the contact, away from that congested area, but he's just taking it back into contact, and I think great defence there from Heriot. They were able to swarm round there quickly, they were able to make it a bit of a mess, but legally, which meant that play completely slowed down, and it meant that the danger out wide was away.
Crouch. Bind. Set.
Southern Knights still, though, down in that danger zone. Scrum inside the 22. Look to again get this moving forward. Sam Derrick controlling at the back. So no penalty this time.
You need to stay down
reset
if you want
scrum.
rewarded. Both are popping up.
Josh Scott is certainly having a very difficult evening against the Brain. I've been very impressed with him. He's got a bit of WP Nell and a bit of Andy Good all rolled into one. He can mix his skills. So for a big fella, he's got really deft hands, but at scrum time he's really, really good.
Crouch. Bind. Set.
And it comes in from Shield. And Sam Derrick
Use it.
again in control at the back. Told to use it though, so it will come to the back line, and Chalmers looks inside. He finds Aidan Cross, who bursts through the first tackle. He's all the way to that try line. Outstanding play by the Southern Knights right wing. Robbie Chalmers taking the ball initially from the scrum, fed it inside to Aidan Cross. And he's not a big man, but he had the strength to fight himself all the way to that try line. And he felt it was coming. The Knights building pressure, and they do have themselves over that Heriot's try line once again.
Aidan Cross is a player that's, he's really benefited at this club in terms of getting into the first team in National 1 and then really pushing on into the Super 6 team. And it was a great line that he ran off his wing, but he got to, you mentioned there about Robbie Chalmers. Robbie Chalmers managed to draw in all those defenders, move his body out to the left, and then pass the ball back on the right-hand side. And it was good power from Cross to get over the line, but certainly a well-worked move from first phase, which you don't see a lot in modern rugby, but it was certainly well-worked. And Aidan Cross back into the fold this evening after an injury. It certainly made his presence felt there as he got over the line for this score.
The extras added once again by Colvin. And the Southern Knights well worth their 14 points to 7 lead at this stage. If anything, they'll be disappointed that the Heriots have 7, because that came from a careless kick from the goal line dropout. But it's Heriots then and Bruce Houston who get us restarted. And once again, the Southern Knights not messing about. Didn't have a great angle there. Corey Winters on the left wing with the headgear on, the New Zealander. Back in Scotland after a spell back home. He was with Edinburgh Rugby a couple of seasons ago, went back to New Zealand. Linus to Leishman. Familiar phrase so far this evening. And Linus going in digging for that one. He's not in the ideal position, and there's Knights players have got round, however, illegally, because the referee playing an advantage. Russell Anderson, the Southern Knights captain and hooker, he's going in the side there, and it will give Bruce Houston a chance to get some territory deep inside that Southern Knights 22.
Yeah, they'll be really disappointed with that, the Knights, because defensively they managed to weather the storm and then get into a good position where they were defending that maul, and Russell Anderson just getting himself into the wrong side and attacking that maul from the wrong angle. And just when you've done all that hard work, you've given away a cheap penalty. You know, we did speak in the first, after the first score, how they've managed to clear their lines and exit cleanly. This time, they've invited a bit of pressure from the kickoff.
So Linus finds his man at the front. And again, that's spun round. It's not ideal for Heriot, but they're still in control of this one and now get themselves moving towards that Knights try line.
Advantage, free changing bind.
Good defence by the Knights, however. De Bruin changing his bind, so out it goes, a free ball, and Houston fires a long ball out into space. It couldn't be taken though by Dan King, went back. Steele dragged down by his ankles by Aidan Cross.
Bind. You, straight onto the ball carrier.
So back we come again.
Changing bind.
It's interesting in rugby because you've got control. You know, Southern Knights looked like for most of this game they've had control, and then 2 quick-fire penalties when their discipline has been good. It's just invited pressure. And Heriot, we know what they're going to do here. They're going to stab it in the corner, and they're going to try and set up again because their attacking mauls have been quite potent so far.
Well, their last one was about 10 metres out. They're now 5 metres away. Opposite side of the pitch from where they scored their earlier try, and they're well set up this time. This will be very hard for the Knights to stop. Linus again, the man at the back. The Knights trying to get this one pushed towards touch. Linus picked the perfect moment to break away, and the hooker has gone over for his second try and his side second.
Perfect.
I think that justifies both red boots now, getting 2 tries. That's a boot each. But again, we knew what was going to come from Heriot. They were going to hit their target. They're very good at their line out. Their line out accuracy is pretty high. They managed to set up that maul. It looks like it's been defended a little bit better by the Knights on this occasion, but they just managed to twist it and just manipulate that defensive maul to get that momentum and get that second nudge on, because they set it up well there. They get all the bodies in and they just move the point of contact slightly and can walk it over the line. And Linus does well as here to notice that it's drifting towards the touchline, and he darts back in and goes for the score.
Way to sell it.
Well, if they didn't know before, the Southern Knights certainly do now. If they give away penalties and allow Heriot to kick to the corner, there's every chance they will give away scores, because that's Michael Linus going in both corners now from line-out mauls. Bruce Houston with the most difficult of conversions out on the right touch line as a right-footed kicker. You'd have to say a battle between him and Lee Millar for the most consistent kicker in the competition. He has caught that one nicely. And again, up go the flags. Never in doubt. Exceptional by the Heriots standoff.
Yeah, exactly what you've said there. When you said it's a more challenging kick, I was thinking in my head, I wouldn't bet against him, because his kicking's been brilliant. Off the tee, he's had long-range drop goals as well in this, but from the hand, he's a, you know, a really, really good player. And a good old-fashioned 10, I feel. Good with the boot, good distribution.
10 minutes to half-time, it's 14 apiece.
Okay, now use it.
And as we expected, 2 fairly evenly matched teams here at the Greenyards tonight.
Straight out.
Now, this is what we said about Southern Knights just there. You've got points on the board, and then you welcome that pressure back from an unforced error. They've kicked it straight out from that box kick. Jed Gilderblom trying to get some distance on that, get it towards the halfway line. Kicks it straight out and just goes right. Southern Knights come at us again.
Jamie Jack trust his captain Russell Anderson to give him the instructions. Plenty of movement in the line out. That doesn't look very straight again. Couldn't be taken by Sam Derrick, but it didn't matter, because as we thought, that's 2 line-outs fairly close to that Heriot's try line that Russell Anderson has thrown squint. He won't be happy with that at all. Yeah, and not to hammer too much on him, but when we were up at the Stirling Wolves game, when they got that win away from home, it was something that was a bit of a bugbear for the Southern Knights, because the accuracy that throwing at the line-out was pretty poor from Anderson on that day. But you know, he's got through a power of work in the loose and in the open play, but in terms of his line-out, that's 2 opportunities there that, you know, he's missed his target, and it means that there's an opportunity missed in really dangerous positions. That's both in the 22.
Bind.
Jed Gilderblom looks bored as he spins the ball as he waits to get this scrum down and then feeds it straight into the number 8's feet. The referee says that the feet of Luan de Bruin were too far back, and he's gone to deck. And an easy out for Heriot, who would no doubt expect to be under pressure from the Southern Knights scrum there. And they will breathe a huge sigh of relief as Bruce Houston will send them long up that left touchline.
Yeah, Heriot seem to have a bit of parity now in the scrum. It's something that's been under pressure throughout this game, but these are big guys, these are big, powerful guys, and they do tire, especially when you've exerted so much energy early on. But Josh Scott seems to have been getting back into the game and putting a little bit of pressure back on de Bruin, because certainly that front row battle has been really interesting over the first 33 minutes.
Linus to the back this time, but once again finds his captain Leishman off the top. Out to Houston, and a missed ball out to Niall Godsmark, who, almost the carbon copy of the moment, 20 minutes ago now, drops the ball under very little pressure. He'll be incredibly disappointed by that. And away comes Rudy Brown, the Knights' first try scorer. Play on the Knights' 10-metre line, just 15 metres in from the stand-side touchline.
Stop, and 7, stop, you're offside. Yep.
Charlie Shield sends that long down to Rory Steele, who evades the clutches of Robbie Chalmers, and he's away. Ball goes loose though, and snapped up by Russell Anderson, so the Knights now chance to counter-attack. The referee, however, has spotted a knock-on in there. But for a moment, it looked like Rory Steele was away.
Yeah, he just managed to get in between the two defenders there, who kind of didn't commit. It was both Colvin and Chalmers, and Winter, sorry, just didn't commit. And when the ball's bouncing there, it just came off a Knight's hand. But that's the sort of danger that Steele brings. Steele's an experienced player. He's played a lot for Watsonians, now at Heriot.
Starting in front, so either be passive and wait till you're passed. And
that's the kind of experience he brings. It was good from Holly Davidson though, because she's letting the game play and communicating well with her assistant referees as well. So, I've been impressed with the way she's let this game flow as well this evening.
No good, Cammy?
It is Cammy Scott. The Southern Knights fly half.
Okay, time on.
And 4 contracted academy players in this Southern Knights side. Walking a little gingerly, but seems to be okay. Cleared by the physio. And may well be called into action in defence here. As Heriots have a scrum centre field just on their own side of halfway.
Crouch!
And Gilderbloom just having a look both sides. He's got Ross Jones, vice captain, as an option on his left side. Bruce Houston on his right. However, he won't get the chance because another infringement at the scrum. This time a free kick offence. Charlie Shield just having a quick word with his captain, Russell Anderson, who's opted for the scrum.
I think that's an excellent decision from Anderson. The pressure was on at the scrum there. It was McLaren kind of took a knee and just kind of lost his foot, and they got the free kick from the front rows, not being able to engage. And from that, they know that if they can get this ball back, they've split the defence. It is bang on centre field, so they can have some space to try and attack the channels and try and get the likes of Anderson and Colvin into space so they can do what they do best.
I think most teams would have kicked to the corner there, but they've wasted their last 2 opportunities with squint throws and perhaps felt that the scrum, albeit further out, was the better opportunity. Let's see what they can make of it. It's at the feet of Sam Derrick. Out they come to the left. Long ball thrown out to Corey Winters. Tries to kick it through. Snapped up by Rory Steele. Tackled by Patrick Anderson inside the Heriot's 22, and then a breakdown penalty for the Southern Knights. So the scrum didn't work out exactly as they hoped. And the kick gathered by Steele there. But in the end, it was Chalmers, in fact, winning the turnover. Great play by the inside centre there. And now they do kick to the corner. And we'll have a line out about 7 metres out from the Heriot's try line.
Yeah, just watching that back on the replay, I was watching where Chalmers went because he was hounding down Steele. He knew that Paddy Anderson was going to make the tackle, and he's just hunting him down, looking to try and target the ball, gets himself in a really good position in the jackal. And it's really difficult to try and move any player from that position, but Chalmers, strong body position, and manages just to suffocate that ball.
Alan Ferry then at the front. And the Southern Knights get this rolling towards the Heriot's try line. Russell Anderson in control at the back. Heriot's have managed to stop that, and out it goes to Chalmers, feeds it off there.
Tackle, release!
Stopped again by Heriot.
No.
Being told to release by Holly Davidson. Very close to the try line now. Could be space out to the right, Patrick Anderson. And that ball can't be gathered. The try line begging there. It was Aidan Cross who's already gone over for one this evening. But the loose pass by Anderson could well have bounced up into his hands and still worked. You can see it there being thrown by Anderson. In fact, it was to fullback David Colvin, apologies, who threw the loose pass, and you can see the try line right in front of Cross.
Yeah, and I just think it was Colvin did the exact right thing. He got the ball, he caught it in two hands, got it across his chest and tried to get the ball away as quick as possible. It was just the execution. It went to ground, the ball was always targeting the ground, and it meant that Cross had to try and slide and get the ball and keep it alive, but just wasn't able to, and that's another opportunity gone for the Knights.
Good contest. Good contest.
Linus the Leishman once again, and Jack Mann, a familiar theme. Great footwork by the number 8 just to allow himself to make an extra 2 or 3 metres. Puts his side on the front foot. Buys Houston a little bit of time, which he needed because he was under pressure. And back come the Southern Knights. Aidan Cross gets back across to the left-hand side, but hammered by Ewan McLaren.
Leave it, let him down.
Again, Patrick Anderson bouncing into contact. And Sheila, it's a bit of a loose pass. Tied up well by Jamie Campbell.
No hands.
Again, the long ball out into the midfield from Cammy Scott. Doesn't seem to be suffering from that injury now as he stabs a little kick through. This could well work out for them. Bruce Houston under pressure there.
Offside.
However, and I did wonder, it did look like there was a Southern Knights player in front, and it was picked up by the referee. So once again, a chance for Heriots and Houston to clear up the left touchline.
Yeah, Sam Derrick just getting a little bit too close to the edge there as Cam Scott was running out. He was running out of options, really. You know, Southern Knights weren't making too much momentum, so a little stab in behind and try and make it a foot race. He was just encroaching a little bit too much to the edge there.
Cheers, Johnny.
So the Knights unable to make anything of 2 or 3 opportunities at the Heriots end of the field. Just over a minute left to half time here at the Greenyards.
4, move back.
And the last chance for Heriots, perhaps to add to their tally before the break.
Backwards once.
Heriots line out once again secure. And the ball eventually finds its way back to Michael Linus. Jed Gelderbloom on hand. I don't think he's going to get this one just yet. However, through come the Southern Knights, and they've managed to isolate Linus in there and turned that ball over, and there could be space. They opted to put boot to ball. There were numbers and space down the stand side touchline, and Rory Steele takes that ball wonderfully well over his shoulder. Sends it back downfield. Colvin skips out the contact. Dragged down by Gelderbloom. Holding on the deck there, and the game just breaking up. And the Knights look dangerous when they get the opportunities there. I felt that they probably should have put it through the hands.
I think it's a precarious position because you don't want to give away penalties when it's 14-all, you know, in a game that you've had a lot of control of, but especially when you're counter-attacking there, it's really, really easy to run away quickly from the support, and I think that's what's happened to David Colvin there. He's got the ball well eventually from that clearance kick from Steele, and he's run away from the contact. All the players were out centre field mostly. You know, it takes a lot to get over and trying to get to that contact zone.
So the last action of the first half.
Guys, the line out's going to be inside, okay? Inside the 22.
Well, the Heriot's driving line out has been their main weapon this evening. 2 tries to hooker Michael Linus. From the base of the maul.
Backwards.
Can they get themselves from this 22
That's
all the way to that Southern Knights try line? Now they get some momentum going.
Down by blue, clearly down by blue.
However, taken down by Heriots, so they'll have to send this one out to the backs. Knights defence came up very quickly there, cut off the options for Houston. And it's still in possession. Fraser Hasty taking the ball into contact. Having to work hard to get this back. The Southern Knights told to get out of there. A penalty right in front of the posts, off their feet.
But then it just came back.
And I imagine that the ball will be handed to Bruce Houston right in front of the posts.
I think Robbie Chalmers is very unlucky there. I think he got himself in a really, really good position, and I thought he had the ball in long enough there. And we'll watch it back here in the replay. He gets himself in a great position. I feel like he's got the ball there. It's just because he falls forward and loses his footing. And when the players pile in, Holly Davidson's just seen that he's clearly off his feet straight away, and it gives Heriots a chance to go down the tunnel at half-time in the lead.
He was unlucky, as you say, he quickly, he was a clear release, he got his hands on the ball, he won it, but then immediately went off his feet. So unlucky by the Southern Knights. Inside centre, Robbie Chalmers. But the upshot is that Heriots and Bruce Houston should go into the break with a 3 points advantage. Houston taking his time over this one. Hush comes over the crowd here at the Greenyards. And Houston makes absolutely no mistake with that. So Heriot's Rugby having been under the cosh for much of the first half. 2 tries for the Southern Knights, Rudy Brown and Aidan Cross. But Heriot's Rugby hanging in there, and 2 tries from driving line out, their line out maul for Michael Linus, and then a penalty just on the stroke of half-time from Bruce Houston. Sees the visitors leading at half-time here in the FOSROC Super 6. It's the Southern Knights 14, Heriot's Rugby 17.
Welcome back to Melrose. A fantastic first half here. Southern Knights against Heriot. It's the visitors that have the advantage thanks to Bruce Houston, who's been so consistent with the boot. But my goodness, so many tries to talk about in this little half-time moment at the moment. And Dale Clancy, you're watching this game. You're up in the commentary box, and we've been pretty impressed so far with both sides. Although there have been lots of mistakes, but makes it pretty exciting.
Yeah, it's been a good game. It's been open. I think Southern Knights came out with a lot of intensity at the start. Defensively, they were really good and they opened the scoring, and after that it's been a little bit tit for tat. There's been some errors in there, but there's been some moments where both teams could really strike, but they've just not taken advantage of it. There's been a lot of errors in there from both sides,
and a lot of kind of tetchiness as well, which we quite enjoy, isn't it? We really do. We like that, don't we?
It's all the forwards as well. It's not the backs getting in it yet. There's been a couple of coming together, but I think that shows you the intensity of this and how important this game is. Heriot's want to put a little bit of a gap in the table between these two teams, and Southern Knights want to look up the way and they want to try and catch them. So it's a game of fine margins, and I think it's shown, especially in the scrum. I think Southern Knights, De Bruyne, specifically, he's been brilliant up front in the scrum.
Yeah, he has, definitely. There's no doubt about it. But let's talk about the start of the game. It was the Knights that got the advantage, and it was a fine try. Rudy Brown got the try after quite a bit of pressure as well.
Yeah, he had an initial break first off, but it was off the 9, and this time he's just loitered outside of the 10. And 2 minutes before this, he made a break from the halfway line. You can see Shield here digging about for the ball, and Scott knows he's got a big runner outside, and he's got options there with Chalmers as well, which helps draw the defence. And Big Brown, he's a hard guy to stop from that distance, but he started very well as well in terms of defence, but obviously he's tried there in attack.
He is a sort of bombastic runner, isn't he? I mean, he's good. He's got a good step on him, but my goodness, when he's got a speed up, he really is hard to stop.
Yeah, and we're speaking about how you utilise players like that with Bruce in the commentary box, and Jack Mann's a similar player who's been used more out wide. He's been quite quiet in this game, but he's been used more in the 15 channels to try and exploit the defence. But Brown is looking to try and use that in the closer battles to try and suck in that defence. So there's more than one way to skin a cat.
I guess if you're one of the coaches, the defence coach, say, for example, for Southern Knights, when you get your noses in front, the last thing you want to do is give away silly penalties and let Heriot's kick to the corner and give them a chance for a try. But they've done that a couple of times so far. Michael Linus has taken advantage of it.
Yeah, 2 tries for Michael Linus, and obviously for the first one, a good position here. The thing is, he's hit his target from the line out. He's been accurate at the line out, and he just packs down at the bottom there. This one a little bit different to the second one, but you can see there he just gets himself in a good position, and the guys do the work. The rest of the guys do the work. Come down there, they're driving, and just getting it to the side, managing to manipulate that defence. And you can see there's 3 Southern Knights guys who are 4 they're obsolete from that defensive position because of the manipulation from the maul from Heriot. So really good attack and play. And usually, we see a lot of hookers getting a lot of tries nowadays, and that's exactly why, is because it's so cohesive up front.
And Knights just before that had actually defended another line out just before that, but it was good play from Heriot, wasn't it? They took advantage of the situation well. There was a couple of times when the Knights kicked to the corner, then it was a squinty throw. They took advantage, but Knights got themselves back in it. 25 minutes gone, and again another good try, get their noses in front.
Yeah, and I think this was, again, a slightly different try, but you can see Aidan Cross just loitering. And Robbie Chalmers, who's perhaps not set the header alight in this game, he's done a lot of dirty work, and you can see here when he gets the ball, he's drifting left, and he's managing just to pull those defenders, and there's 3 guys on him. And the covering defence just isn't able to stand up to Cross. He gets good pace up, gets a good bounce on as well, manages to barge the defender out the road. And that's a guy who's just coming back from injury, but he's got a lot of confidence. He's been scoring a lot of tries in that one and gets his chance in Super 6.
And it's good to see Robbie Chalmers at 12, but he's the first receiver there, and they're using that pretty well. And Charlie Shield brings a bit of pace as well at 9, doesn't he?
Yeah, for the first score that Melrose, for this first score that Southern Knights got, it was sparked by Shield because he's a dynamite in behind that ruck, But there it just shows good service, and you've got good ball players, Cam Scott and Robbie Chalmers and Paddy Anderson in that little trio there. They're all good ball players and can interchange.
Definitely. Well, we mentioned Michael Linus in his first score. He's got the red boots, they're on fire. Everything's on fire. He got his second score, and again it was a very similar kind of lineup, but on the other side of the pitch, well taken again.
Yeah, but slightly different this time. You can see that the defensive position there from the Southern Knights is pretty good, but it just gets that little bit of momentum. And Heriots are, they're a great team at getting the driving maul into good positions and getting good momentum. They get there in numbers, and then they're able just to start charging on. But Linus on this time, he notices that it's coming to a halt, and he manages to squeeze round the side. He's aware of 2 dangers there. He's aware that he's going to be short of the line, and also the touch line's on his right hand side, and it's coming at quite a pace. So good awareness from the hooker there to see the space there and just score him on the left hand side.
And the pretty impressive thing as well is Bruce Houston, who's the 10 for the Heriots. He got the conversion there. He also got a penalty just before half-time as well. It's really important, isn't it? Not only kicks from the tee, but kicks from hand from him have been pretty impressive, putting real pressure on the Knights.
Yeah, and I think if you look at both 10s, Cam Scott's actually invited a little bit of pressure for poor kicking. He's kicked 2 kicks out in the full on 2 occasions, where Bruce Houston's pretty accurate from the ball from hand. And I think that's one thing that the Southern Knights will be disappointed about, is the fact that they've not been able to take their chances and get into the right areas. For 20 minutes they were in the right areas and defensive pressure was really good. But those little errors, you said after you've scored, receive the ball and let's try and clear your lines. They're inviting pressure from penalties. That last try from Linus came after 2 quick penalties.
Yeah.
And Heriots can capitalise on that. But Houston puts them in the right position, and certainly in the last, Southern Knights giving away penalties again, and Houston can kick them over the post.
That's the exciting thing about the Super 6, isn't it? Because there's lots of really good play as well, but there's lots of kind of mistakes as well. It's developing players. That's going to happen. It makes for entertaining rugby. So how do you think the second half's going to go, though?
I think it'll be quite similar to the first. I think the benches are going to be really, really vital in this game. I think Heriots have a strong bench. I would say they've got perhaps a stronger bench than the Southern Knights, but if the Southern Knights can keep the pressure on up front in the scrum and the set piece, and they can get their line out right, they're playing rugby in the right areas. It's just these little errors that are coming into their game. If they can get their passes accurate, they can make sure that when they're getting the ball into space, Aidan Cross had another opportunity, but the ball went to ground. If they capitalise on these, I think they've got the taking of Heriots. But Heriots are a stubborn team. They're robust. They've got a lot of good ball players out there in the back line as well. So it's going to be an interesting second half. But it's been really, really tight so far, and I imagine the second half's going to be equally as tight.
I hope so. And the average age of the Knights is 22. They're a very young side, but it'll be interesting to see what happens in the second half. We're going to take a short break, and it's coming up live after that.
Welcome back to the Greenyards in the FOSROC Super 6. It's half-time here. Southern Knights 14, Heriot Rugby 17. And 2 contrasting performances in that first half. If anything, the Southern Knights perhaps more inventive with their tries. Reedy Brown crashing over. And then Aidan Cross, the right wing, with their second try. But they were punished for their indiscretions As every time Heriots went to the corner, they got their driving line out well formed, and Michael Linus, the man to profit at the back. And then that Bruce Houston penalty right in the stroke of half-time, as Robbie Chalmers was penalised. I've seen the visitors with a perhaps unlikely lead at the break. Certainly all to play for in the second half.
Russell Anderson has been replaced by number 16, Fraser Rennick.
So Russell Anderson, the captain, has made way for Fraser Rennick and the Southern Knights team. The only change that we can see so far.
Good.
So Cammy Scott then to get the second half underway. Lands that one just on the Heriots 22. Well, I was just about to say well dealt with by Heriots, but holding on the ground there.
Straight on ball, no, he isn't. Holding.
One of the Southern Knights players managing to get hands on ball. Heriots not dealing with it. It's the first opportunity then of the second half. Will be for the Southern Knights. Fraser Rennick just on the field, standing with ball in hand, throws it to Cammy Scott, who will be asked to send this one into the corner off his left boot.
I think I do find that a strange decision to kick to the corner, because you know that penalty does draw it level, and it's about winning. You know, they're 5 points in the championship behind Heriots, and they need to get all these points on the board. But I might be made to eat my words if they manage to get over for a score. But it was certainly a kickable penalty there.
5 in the line out, with Wallace Nelson standing as the +1. Around comes Rennick. And that ball has been lost. They've had 3 opportunities from similar positions, 2 in the first half, and on both occasions Russell Anderson with a squint throw. On this occasion it was knocked on in the line out and wasteful. We just said in the break there how clinical Heriots had been. I think they had 3 opportunities, took 2 of them, with Linus the try scorer, and the Southern Knights rather more wasteful.
Told you they should have kicked it.
They've proved you right. I never say anything because they usually prove me wrong,
yeah,
so
no.
It's safer not to.
Bind.
I think that was more luck than anything.
Set.
Heriots still under pressure, close to their own line. And going backwards in the scrum, so Jack Mann forced to pick up and goes very wide. He's hit hard, the in comes Chalmers just to finish off the 2-man tackle. Back it comes to Linus. Again, just to give Houston a better angle.
No way, White, let him go.
In fact, Gelderbloom again will take on kicking duties himself.
Use it, 9.
Sends it high into the night sky. It's not going to find touch. Well, it does, in fact, because it's missed by Aidan Cross, who jumped acrobatically up to try and keep it infield.
Okay. Thanks, one.
And I think, in fact, has got fingertips to that, because looks like Johnny Perriam, the assistant referee on this side, is saying that it will be a Heriots throw into the line out.
Yeah, I think he just brushed it as he tried to keep it in the field of play, and it means it's going to be a throw into the line out to Heriot, so it's a little let off there for them. But you know, they've weathered a bit of pressure here early on. About 3 minutes gone in this second half, and they've spent it pretty much in their 22.
Fraser Hasty, the recipient, in the line out. Back it comes to Gelderbloom, who sends it all the way down into the Knights 22. Colvin sends it back. It'll be gathered by Bruce Houston. The other man in the Heriots lineup with the orange boots. And that wasn't well judged at all by Cammy Scott, who now has to go back and tidy up under a huge amount of pressure from Ronan Sadak, the Polish international. Then goes Linus to try and win that one, but it's still with the Southern Knights. Jack Mann absolutely clatters Fraser Rennick. Welcome to the field. And the ball's been lost by the Knights, snapped up by Heriots. A great attacking opportunity for them. Space out wide if they can get it there. Shoveled along the line, it's still on if they can get it out. Rory Steele cuts back inside off his right foot. He's dragged down a metre or 2 short. Still with Heriots. Out it comes again to Hasty. Jack Mann goes in to secure that one. Lovely little tip on to Linus, looking for his hat-trick. Tackled by Cammy Scott. And then behind one prop to the other, Josh Scott. Still Heriot's right in front of the Southern Knights post. Hasty running onto it and attracted the attentions of the defence. Instead it went to Godsmark.
Yeah, 9 lip.
Gelderbloom marshalling his troops. Again, a little skip pass out to Linus, desperate to get over the try line for that third time. However, the Southern Knights do get hands on it, and Linus guilty of holding on the ground, and the Knights survive.
That was brilliant defence from the Knights. It was, even when it went over at the far side with Steele, when he tried to dance back in field, you know, he was just met with a constant drag of defenders coming across the field. And there, in the tighter quarters, you can see in defence how aggressive they are. I think this perhaps might be the last carry from Linus. And watch him when he takes the ball into contact. You've got another man, De Bruyn again, coming in there, putting his force into it and just driving him back. And they're taking the tackle on their terms that way, Southern Knights. And it's very positive defensive play from the Knights, and it's saved what would have been a definite try.
Of all the people you probably don't want to hit by, it's De Bruyn, a junior Springbok many years ago, 69 caps for the Cheetahs. And then more recently he's been at Leicester Tigers, where he played 17 times. As we said earlier, 29 years old, but he's 128 kilos, old money, just over 20 stone at 6 foot. That's pretty solid. Yeah, there's not many tatties rolled off his plate and hit the floor anyway. He's certainly a big prop, but the good thing is about him is he's very dynamic. You know, for a big guy, he can move about the field, but he's got a really good skill set as well. You know, defensively he's been good, as we just seen there, but in attack sometimes he's up there to be a pivot, and you can see there you're just rattling off Cheetahs and Leicester Tigers. He comes with a good pedigree. He comes from good rugby stock, so it certainly is he's a great asset for the Knights here this evening. 8 appearances for Edinburgh Rugby since joining. It has definitely made a difference tonight. 3 Edinburgh Rugby players in Knights colours tonight, both props, Jamie Jack the other, and Charlie Shield, son of the Boroughmuir Bears coach Graham Shield, and of course grandson of Dougie Morgan, a scrum half himself, 21 appearances for Scotland, 2 for the British Lions, so a good pedigree for Charlie Shield. Taken cleanly in the line out, Rennick finds his man. Then it goes, Rennick decides to break away up the stand side touchline. And Shield calling the shots, asks for a pot of forwards. Finds the loose head, Jamie Jack.
Forward, advantage.
And Jamie Campbell fighting his way forward. Referee playing an advantage here.
It's been stripped forward though, so it's a knock-on.
It's the knock-on though.
It's a rip forward.
A scrum to the Southern Knights, just right down in front of our commentary position here on the stand side of the pitch. 5 metres or so in, with some changes for Heriot's in the front row. On comes Dan Gamble. Came up through the youth system at Kelso. Another player aligned to Edinburgh Rugby as a contracted academy player. He's had a solid season so far in Heriot's colours. Yeah,
I think, you know, it's been a strength of theirs up front. You know, the front row, and you can see he can take players off like Ian McLaren and bring on Dan Gamble. It's certainly, you know, they've got strength and depth in the front row, and it's something that not a lot of clubs in, you know, semi-pro, pro rugby or amateur rugby can really say, because good front row are like gold dust nowadays. So it's, he's certainly had a good season. He'll be hoping to build on it here.
See how he goes up against Jamie Jack here, who I'm sure he knows well. So these contracted academy players aligned with one of the pro teams and will train there, so he'll train alongside Jack. I'm sure they have scrummaged often.
I always find it very unnerving when the front rows look at each other and smile. I think they're a very strange breed, the front row, but it's certainly, you know, they train close to each other. They'll know each other's strengths and weaknesses, and that just adds to the intrigue of the scrummage that we've seen so far this evening.
Bind. Yeah. Let's keep that space, same as the first half. Space was good. Let's go again.
Again, very clear communication from referee Holly Davidson.
It is important you get these right. They're all big men. and there's a little wrong foot or a little wrong engagement, it can be dangerous for these players. So it's good management from Holly Davidson.
Set.
And it comes eventually from Shield, and it's picked up at the base by Sam Derrick. And he's driven back by Jed Gelderbloom. And she will not be happy about. The Knights come back to the stand side, and Jamie Campbell, who again hit hard. Some enormous collisions out there. And Charlie Shield decides again that putting boot to ball is the best option. Aidan Cross went up to challenge for that, but it's been snapped up by Ronan Sadak. And Heriot's now on the Knights' 10-metre line. Houston out to Godsmark. And away goes Steele, who's looked dangerous when he's had ball in hand all evening. A spin round there by the captain, Leishman. And finds Linus. Not quite sure that's what Leishman intended, and then the ball sent through off the boot of Niall Godsmark. Kept in at the back by Colwyn, but didn't have much of an angle to work with. He's only managed to make 5 or so metres there. In fact, was that Cammy Scott, I think, was it, that kicked that one out? A very difficult kick, and Heriot's about 15 metres or so out from the Southern Knights try line, and they will fancy their chances again from the line out.
Yeah, but I think that's good game management from Heriot. It's probably something we didn't see as much in the first half. They're looking to try and move the ball, trying to find the space, and when they know they get a bit flat, they're kicking in behind, and that's just run off for them that time. So it's advantage Heriot's there.
Long ball from Linus, this time finds Callum Anderson for the first time in the line out tonight.
That's one.
Just mixing up their options.
No.
And again, look well set, and now they get moving forward. You can see the orange boots of Michael Linus in there trying to control it. It's been disrupted a little by the Southern Knights.
Use it!
And the referee asks Heriots to use it. 2 balls just in behind the shot runners. Houston evading the clutches of Anderson. He's driven to deck though by Cammy Scott. Dan King now. And Heriots going very close to that Southern Knights try line. Back it comes, lovely little tip on there by Leishman to Dan Gamble. And again the tip on from Sadak, this time not so accurate. Couldn't find the hands of Josh Scott, and away go the Southern Knights. And Corey Winters having a go from his own 22. Looks for support, puts boot to ball. And back goes Pecure. Does really well under pressure, however, dragged down by Chalmers. And the penalty again conceded.
Number 9, side entry.
Jed Gelderbloom, the guilty party, in at the side of that one. Sam Pecure, as he tried to extricate himself from a very difficult position. You can see
shot called.
Corey Winters with the headgear on here. He looked inside for support, kicked it through, and Pecure did not get the bounce of the ball. Evaded the clutches of Shield. But it was Chalmers that dragged him down, and then Gelderbloom in the side, and a chance now. And I think, Dale, they're perhaps listening to your advice, because it looks like they will go for the posts.
Yeah, I think it's perhaps a good option, especially when you've had your backs to the wall for 5 minutes. If you get the chance, look to go for the sticks. But you've got to say that great break from Winters, good awareness from the players to keep the ball alive. But the tackle again from Chalmers in midfield, that's an easy one to miss. And as soon as you miss that, the game's opened up, and it's a brilliant tackle which has led to this penalty. So kudos to him again.
So no scoring in the opening 12 minutes of this second half. David Colvin lining up a penalty attempt which would level the scores. And the assistant referees had a quick glance at each other there, but that one not quite on target. So it remains Southern Knights 14, Heriot 17. 12 minutes into the second half here at the Greenyards.
Okay, number 1 and 14.
And the difference between the two sides, still that Bruce Houston penalty just on the stroke of half-time.
Southern Knights will be disappointed with that there, that they've missed that kick, but I think you've got to do that. You've got to take the kick, especially because it's a bit further out. Put them under a little bit of pressure again as well, you know, and just you've got to try and take these chances, because you know, if you kick to the corner, it doesn't play off again, then you know you've completely you've just given away an opportunity. But they've went for it. It's not been accurate from Colvin. He'll be disappointed with his kick, but you know, it keeps Heriots in a precarious position.
Great, thank you.
Two earlier conversions this evening by Colvin,
On the southern night side has been
converting both
replaced
Rudy
by
Brown's try and Aidan Cross's try. And it goes Colvin, puts boot to ball again and forces Heriot's back. Houston and King both back there, and it's King doesn't quite find his touch there. And Cammy Scott feeds it back infield to Shield. Sends that high, didn't quite get the direction off the boot. You could see as he glanced up, he was looking straight down the field and looked nervously to his right-hand side as he realised the ball had come off the side of the boot. So a mistake there by the Southern Knights scrum half. Hands possession and territory. Two Heriots here and a change in the front row for the Southern Knights with Mike Mbo on the Dutch international. 6 caps for him. Through the Wasps Academy. Played at Ealing Trailfinders. Taking his place at the back of this Southern Knights line-out, but taken by Heriots off the top and down to Gelderblom. Whips it out there to Houston. A lovely ball inside to Pecure. Comes off his left wing into the midfield. Fights his way into the Southern Knights 22. And Heriots looking for quick ball here. Across the face of Houston and out to Steele again, looking dangerous in little space, steps off his right foot. Brought to deck, 10 metres or so from that Southern Knights try line. Sadak. Gelderblom out then to Rory Leishman, the captain. Heriot's very close here. Niall Godsmark tries to go through himself, but he's driven back in the tackle once again by Robbie Chalmers, whose defence has been superb tonight. The ball went loose, but still with Heriots. Spinning through contact there. Jack Mann goes in to help, gets hands on ball, just goes himself, and he will be very hard to stop from there.
No hands, no hands, he's there.
A metre or so away. Fraser Hasty over that Leishman. It's Leishman that will pick up, and he'll feed it to Linus.
Advantage, 7 offside.
The referee now playing advantage, so will Heriots choose to send this one out to the back line. Michael Linus again on hand, but Jed Gelderblom, lovely little wraparound ball. A good line by Rory Steele, but dealt with well. Plays still 5 metres out from that Southern Knights try line. No advantage, referee comes back for the penalty, and Jed Gelderblom
Just over here.
has a little think about going quickly.
7 offside.
And it was Wallace Nelson offside. And Gelderblom just getting some advice from his forwards. And they've decided they want to just keep the pressure on here, keep their foot on the throat of the Southern Knights, and they'll just tap and go for the try line. The captain, Rory Leishman. In goes Dan Gamble. Feed this off to Sadak. Round comes Linus again. He's sniffing for that third try. He's desperate to get himself over for the hat-trick. To pick and go again, Fraser Hasty. A little pop pass. The Southern Knights defending for their lives here.
Let him go, 9.
Again, Heriots going very, very close. And short of defenders on that right-hand side. Heriots denied again. They tried to go just a little wider again. The Southern Knights defence on hand to repel them. Bruce Houston now thought about a kick there. Finds Godsmark, whips the pass out there to Pecure. Cuts back inside under the tackle. Very close again to the try line, but can't quite get himself over. They do go over though.
Time off.
And time off, the referee says. So I think Heriots have this one down. The question is, was there a foot in touch first?
Okay, so we'll go back for 8 offside. No try.
Yeah, I think
Go back for 8 offside.
Johnny Perham had a good position of that, but I don't know if I'm missing the point, but they've got 3 points underneath the sticks. They've got a 3-point lead. I don't know why they're going for the bonus point by the looks of things. Like, win the game, get a little bit of a gap in between you and Southern Knights in the table, but they're obviously sniffing down the try, so they want to go again.
Dan Gamble crashing into contact. Southern Knights defence exceptional, close to their own try line, but you feel it's got to break at some point if Heriots can keep a hold of possession. Mike Mbo coming round off his feet there. The referee bumped into by Michael Linus in his hurry to get into the breakdown, and Houston again trying to get the ball wide. Steele, if this bounces up into his hands, he may well be in, but it evades his clutches. That's the second time that has happened to Steele this evening. And you've got to say, a wasted opportunity for the visitors.
Yeah, again, they've had another opportunity, a penalty, to get some points on the board. They've went to go for the try again, try and get at least 5. And in those 2 passages of play, in between the shrills of the whistle from Holly Davidson, they've not got any points, and the ball just bubbled into touch there from that floating pass out wide. You've got to commend the Southern Knights defence, however, because they've only conceded 2 tries from driving mauls. They've not conceded an open play, so I don't know at what point Heriots think, yep, we can rumble over, because they've not done it so far in this game. So, you know, it's a brave decision from the captain to want to do that, but I think that the Southern Knights defence, again, held up really, really firm there. But it was a couple of strange calls, in my opinion, from Heriots there.
Knights side, Grant Shield comes on in place of Jamie Jack, who is number 17.
So changes for both sides. Grant Shields, the vice-captain for the Southern Knights, coming on. Vastly experienced, former Edinburgh rugby player. Turned out 80 times for the Newcastle Falcons in the English Premiership.
Line it off.
And off comes Jamie Jack. He's certainly put in a shift at the scrum. Douglas Crawford also on. It looks like Cammy, in fact it is Cammy Scott coming off. He took a knock late in that first half.
Out now, 6.
So back to the action, and it's Heriots again. That's Southern Knights, apologies, in possession, and Charlie Shield sends it high into the night sky, taken by Rory Steele, who's been excellent under the high ball this evening. Takes it into contact on the Southern Knights 10-metre line. Bruce Houston. There's space down this stand-side touchline. If Heriots can get there, Jackman will be very hard to stop there, but Patrick Anderson deals well with him.
No, ball's out.
New man, Ewan McCara on at scrum half. And looking back to the left, and in fact there is space there. He's away, McCara, he's got support with him. And Heriot should score here. That's great play. Sam Picure will go in. It was a lovely bit of play by Sam Wallace just on the field. And he arced back in field just to draw the last defender in and timed his pass perfectly to Sam Picure. And the former Scotland Sevens player, Heriot's left winger, extends the Heriot's lead. You see the replay here, Ewan McCara, another player just on the field. And he found Sam Wallace, and that is great play by the replacement, puts in his winger.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that about Sam Wallace. He's a player that's been in the squad because he's impressed for Heriot's Blues, but you can see he's just done the basics exactly right. He's fixed David Colvin. David Colvin can't even drift across. He has to plant his feet, and he just passed the ball through the hands, and it's been the simplest to try. So after 5 minutes of me slating Heriots for not getting any scores, eventually they get over the whitewash. But, you know, it didn't come from, I wouldn't say it came from their good work. It came from a lot of, you know, perhaps poor coverage in defence from Southern Knights, and good work at the breakdown from Ewan McCara to find the space. He got the space, he ran into it, he was able to get the offload, and then Wallace just drew the man and put in a great pass to Picure to get the score.
And Ewan McCara, remember, on loan from Glasgow Hawks. Murdo McAndrew was ruled out because of an injury he sustained at training this week. And Ewan McCara would perhaps not have expected to get on the field, but he has replaced Jed Gelderbloom as Bruce Houston adds the extras again.
Yeah, Ewan McCara's a good youngster coming through. You know, he hails from Biggar, a bit like Jamie Campbell, obviously the second row, playing for the Knights. Biggar got a lot of good young players coming through. He tried it with the Ayrshire Bulls in the sprint series, and, you know, now getting a chance again in the shop window. So, you know, he's a player to keep an eye out for.
The Southern Knights will wonder how on earth they trail by 10 points in this game. They've got 20 minutes left to rectify the situation if they want their second win of the season. Their only win so far up at Bridge Hawk, 20 points to 3 winners over Stirling Wolves.
Okay, 9, use it.
From a Heriot's perspective, they're now looking for a bonus
Backwards.
point, 4th try. A little untidy there, but it does come back on the Heriot side. Jack Mann decides not to run, which is unusual. Instead, sends the ball out to Kyle Brown, another replacement in the background for Heriots, and Heriots just looking for territory. Down inside that Southern Knights 22. Well, there could be a bit of an injury here to one of the Southern Knights players. It was David Colvin at the back, and he did well initially as he managed to skip through 2 tackles, but Holly Davidson again realised that there had been an injury and blew the whistle. Good work by the referee, and we'll have a bit of treatment here to Colvin.
It was a scrappy kick from Heriot that kicked downfield, and it was well covered by Colvin, and he's managed to go in between the two covering Heriot's players. But as he's tried to power through with his legs, he just kind of looked from our angle anyway. It looked like he'd lost his footing, so you can see he gets in between the two players and just starts to fall down. And the covering tackle there from Kyle Brown. I don't think there's nothing malicious there, and he's just came in. By the letter of the law, he's caught him round the neck and caught him by the head, but there's a bit of mitigation there in terms of Colvin was falling, and he was leading with his head as well. So, it's just an unfortunate collision more than anything else, but it's good to see him back on his feet.
Yeah. About 20 minutes.
Yeah, I'm not sure what else Kyle Brown could have done there. See Kyle Brown and shot. As we mentioned earlier, the number of injuries that Heriots have sustained, forced to go for a 4-4 split on the bench. 4 forwards, 4 backs.
It's always a difficult thing to see, and you were saying that you don't know what else he could do. It's the instinct of a rugby player when there's a player in front of him with the ball in hand and he's charging at you. You just want to wrap round him any way that you can, and it's a difficult thing because I think rugby players have accepted now that if they accidentally go round the head or round the neck, it's just part of the game now. But I perhaps think that over on that far side, Ross maybe might have got a look at that. Maybe we had a conversation with Holly Davidson, but it's David Colvin shook it off. And he's back to his feet.
Yeah, it's good to see David Colvin taking his place again behind that Southern Knights back line.
Crouch! Bind! Set!
Southern Knights opting to play from deep. I just feel like they've got to throw the ball about, take some chances now. 2 Heriots players in the backfield just waiting for a kick that may not come. Corey Winters, we've seen how dangerous he can be. Offloads the ball. Heriots try to bundle the Knights into touch. Managed to stay in the field of play. Try to work their way upfield through the forwards. Pecure now dropping himself into the backfield as he realises the kick is going to come. Bruce Houston likewise goes back. So there's 4 Heriots players back for this one. Steele on this occasion can't get there and the ball goes loose. Good work for the Southern Knights, snapped up by Wallace Nelson. And Shield out to Ferry, however, double knock on I think there. So the referee blows the whistle and it will be a scrum feed to Heriots.
Yeah, the bounce of the ball there just, I think, caught everybody out, and it just did eventually get into the hands of Wallace Nelson, who took the contact. But you see here, Shield just trying to get the ball, legs, arms, and Heriots players in the road. Just mean he can't get clean contact with the ball, so he can't get it to the supporting players. However, he was going to come to the stand side here at the Greenyards, and they never really had numbers up. I don't think he would have rather had a defensive scrum, but he would have been running into trouble. He only had Finn Douglas and Colvin over on this side, so it was looking to try and keep the tempo, but just a little error there.
Set! Onside 9.
Jack Mann picks up at the base, but he's stripped by Shield. And Chalmers tried to throw a flat ball to Finn Douglas, who's now on that right wing. And we mentioned his piece earlier. He's a sprinter. He scored the bonus point try up at Meggetland from his own 10-metre line. Another one of the contracted academy players aligned to Edinburgh.
No, line out.
See, he's shaking his head down in front of us here, not happy with the pass that he was thrown there by Robbie Chalmers.
Yeah, he's the type of player we want to see with the ball in hand. He's come through the semi-junior system in the Borders, and now got his chance in the professional ranks, but also with the Southern Knights here, and he's a dangerous player in open space.
In the 50.
Well, that Linus-Leishman combo at the line-out has certainly worked for the visitors tonight, as has the driving maul from the line-out.
No, you're not bound.
Linus again standing out. You can see him with the orange boots there, easy to pick out. And he's going to break away at some point. He does now. Tackled by Rudy Brown. The early try scorer for the Southern Knights. And again, the chop tackle, Linus went down quickly, which just allowed one of the Southern Knights players to get hands on the ball and wins his side a penalty.
Yeah, if we get a replay of this, when you see a player on his back, you know that they're in trouble. And Linus, Holly Davidson was screaming at him, saying that he's out of the maul. And when he carried the ball, he just got bundled onto his back, which means that the ball's so exposed. Rudy Brown got himself into a great position to get that ball, steal it back, and win the penalty. Yeah, you'll see here, he just gets himself a little bit isolated, looks to go, runs away from the support as well, and it's actually Wallace Nelson. You see the first contact with the ground is his back. He's there, he's exposing the ball. Nelson gets himself in a good position.
And a good tackle by Rudy Brown. Just made the potential steal easier. And taken at the tail of the line out by the Southern Knights, dragged down. The referee again says it was the Knights that took it down themselves. And that doesn't come back on the Knights' side, which of course means turnover ball.
Yeah, they'll be disappointed with that sometimes. You know, you can't really analyse much of that because the ball, you know, the line-out just didn't go to plan. They come congested in that area and the ball's just stuck. There's no way that ball's coming back, and you know, by the letter of the law, it was taken in by Southern Knights and it's going to be a Heriot's ball. But they'll be disappointed after the good work from Nelson that you then, you know, cough up possession essentially from an unforced error like that.
You mentioned just after half-time the contrast between the two first-half performances, and perhaps the line-out has been one of the main contrasts between them. The Heriot's line-out has been exceptional. They scored 2 tries from it. And the Southern Knights, they've gone askew with a couple of throws. When they've found their man, they've not managed to get the maul set properly, and they will be disappointed with that. I saw them going through it as well in their warm-up and talking about it. Jack Mann then picks the ball up to Ewan McCara. And out to Sam Pecure, third try scorer for Heriot's, looking for work.
Use it!
McCara to Hasty, he's driven backwards, assisted by his captain Leishman.
Use it, 9!
It looked like McCara would kick, but instead he goes to Houston, who switches sides with a long kick. That will be taken by Finn Douglas. What can he do from here? Well, he will certainly have a go. Tries to go, well, initially around and then over his opposite number, Sam Pecure. Does well to stay in field. Wallace Nelson, apologies. Ball whipped out again from Shield. Patrick Anderson, not seen too much of him, and it's an attacking force tonight, but finds his left wing, Corey Winters. Again, untidy play by the Southern Knights, and the ball lost into touch at the far side.
Yeah, I think it's great. It's great to see there Douglas when he gets the ball in hand. He's so hungry and youthful and energetic, isn't he? But here, I don't think that Paddy Anderson's the one to blame. He's looking to try and get something. You can see him actually flap his arm as if he wants a cut. And the two players there that are Derek and Corey Winters just don't do anything from their wing. You need somebody to move out. You need somebody to come back in field to ask questions of the defence. And, you know, Paddy Anderson knew what he was going to do because he never had a lot of options. He's looking to try and find that hole in defence, but he needs the supporting players to do something well. And, you know, Winters has actually been pretty good in the first half, a couple of good runs, second half a good run, but, you know, you need to work a little bit harder off your wing, I feel, at times.
It's going to be theirs.
More changes for the Southern Knights. Alan Ferry coming off.
Okay, thank you. About 14.
On the Heriots, team number 13, Godsmark.
Erin Demirel, the man to come on in the second row, alongside Jamie Campbell.
In the 15.
Linus finds man at the back of the Heriot's line out. And once again, that maul looks well set. Breakaway, still Linus in control at the back. However, the Knights have come through the middle of that and spoiled it. Heriot's will have to work hard to get this back. No, they do not manage. And similar to what we saw a moment or two ago, this time it goes the other way, and the Southern Knights managed to win that ball back from Heriot's at the ball.
Yeah, and it's Grant Shields, that man on your screen there, number 17, who's came off the bench. You can see when the maul starts to splinter, he's the only man trying to hold that maul up, and he just swims his way through, straight through the middle. You heard Holly Davidson scream it, saying that Grant Shields was through the middle, and he manages just to suffocate that ball and make it a non-event, which means that this time Southern Knights get the put into the scrum.
Ten points the difference between the sides as we approach the last 10 minutes of this game.
Crouch.
So still time for the Southern Knights to get themselves back into this
Bind. Set.
We're just about getting to that stage where you feel they've got to do something now, or it will be never.
Okay, so bind quicker and keep that space on you. Let's go.
Let's go, pals, come on! Come on! Let's go!
I know we've said it 2 or 3 times tonight, but I love the clarity and the brevity of Holly Davidson's instructions. There's no messing about there. It's just like, this is what's wrong. Would you get on and sort it, guys? Let's go.
I like her action points. I think that she asks questions of players, which is really good. She's said there in the front row, that's on you. You know, so the player knows that he's being watched.
Bind. Set.
Ball came squirting out, dealt with well by Shield, and Chalmers hit high there by Jack Mann. And the new man, Demerel, right over the top of Ronan Sadak. He's taken a sore one there, but it's been turned over by Heriot. Struan Cessford involved in the play there as Ronan Sadak gets some treatment down in front of us here. Another Heriot's player goes down. It's Struan Cessford on in the front row.
Yeah.
It's certainly physical out there.
Yeah, that was a great run, and I don't think Sadak, you know, he certainly came off second best. I don't know if he knows if it's Wednesday or Wembley at the moment, because he took it right on the head. And I think that's why the referee has brought that back. I think this is the carry there from Heriot. Again, good defensive work from Chalmers.
Good.
But it was the carry from Dremel, which was the big one. You see here just powering through and just going straight through
Just wait until one's good.
the opposite man there. It was a great carry, and that's perhaps what the Southern Knights have been missing in the second half. That, you know, that go forward aggression that they had in the first. But I think Sadak has recovered, and he's joined his teammates again.
Adam Demerel out the Highland Rugby Club, I believe.
Nah, they have possession.
That's a great carry. You know, it's great when you see these new names pop up, and I think that's the beauty of this Super 6 campaign. You know, you've got these names popping up, and you know, instantly he comes off the bench and makes an impact. He's been playing rugby for Highland and then comes down here to the Southern Knights, and you know, he's wanting to make a name for himself, and he's certainly introduced himself to Ronan Sadak anyway. I
think Ronan Sadak will see the impact on his chest when he gets up tomorrow morning. Never mind feel it. So that's us into the last 10 minutes here at the Greenyards in the FOSROC Super 6, round 6. The Southern Knights work to do if they want to pick up their second win of the season.
Bind.
Heriot's looking for their third.
Set.
And that scrum wheels and wheeled deliberately, according to the referee. Struan Cessford, the man penalised, new on the loose head side of the scrum for Heriot. And the Southern Knights realising that time is against them, not hanging about.
I think the good thing to come from that is the fact that, you know, there's been a lot of changes in the front row for both sides, and the Southern Knights still have a bit of ascendancy in the scrum. You know, I've been impressed with Rennick, Shields, and you know, since they've come onto the field of play, but they've kept the upper hand in the scrum, and you can see the pressure that they put on Heriot's there. Good field position now as well.
Well, we mentioned the Southern Knights line out not quite firing on all cylinders, and once again they've lost the opportunity. Down at the Heriot's end of the field. And Makara sends that one up, and eventually gathered by the Southern Knights. Not a lot of space to work in, but they do manage to take the play back over halfway. Douglas Crawford looking for it. Ball once again has gone loose in the midfield and just untidy by the Southern Knights as they perhaps trying to force things, realise the clock is against them, trail by 10, and just untidy play.
Just snapped it there, Rennick, when he was trying to get just above his head. He was needing that in the breadbasket just to secure the ball and carry it forward and look to set up that platform. But, you know, it might be a bold statement, but I think that if they nail their lineouts, Southern Knights, they're ahead in this game. I think they've had far too many mistakes at the lineouts for two really experienced hookers as well. It's not been lifting, it's not been the jumpers, it's been thrown into the lineout, and you feel that if they're a little bit more accurate at the lineout, they're in a better position in this game. But Rory Steele's getting a bit of attention on the field, obviously. Feeling the impact of what has been a brutal game. It has been really, really physical.
Two former Scotland under 20 players, apologies, Russell Anderson and Fraser Rennick.
Yeah, it's just taking a sore one off Winter there, just a knee to the thigh. Good. When they're contesting for that ball. And,
and it's going to be inside
Rory Steele milking it as he gets back onto the field to play, but he's certainly just going to be able to try and run this off, but that'll be a sore one tomorrow anyway.
He's back from a hamstring injury. They wouldn't want to lose him again because he has been good. And Sam Pecure on the other wing. He's had a good season for Heriot. As we said earlier, their back line has been very inventive under the guidance of Stuart Edwards. Just struggled to pick up the wins. As things stand, it looks like they may well pick up their third win of the season here at the Greenyards tonight. Nakara comes to the left. And they put boot to ball, it'll be chased by Pecure, beats everybody into touch. The Southern Knights line out. At the other end of the field, they need to get themselves up at the far end if they're going to come away with a win here tonight.
Yeah, but that's good game management, just noticing that there's a space in the backfield and kicking over and saying to the Southern Knights, look, if you want to get anything from this game, you're going to have to throw the pill about in the dangerous area of your own 22. So, you know, it's great game management from Heriot to put it in the right areas of the pitch.
Well, and they'll be saying you've got to win your line out first. They do on this occasion, under some pressure. Jamie Campbell. Offside, though, and that's the last thing that the Heriot's coaching team would have wanted there. They had Southern Knights down where they wanted them, pinned back in their 22. And it just gives them an easy out.
Rennick will be happy. It was a difficult line out. It was well contested as well, but, you know, there's going to be another one coming up if Colvin can get a bit of length on this and also find touch, which it looks like he's just managed, and that's a good gain of territory.
Cheers, Johnny.
Sam Pecure had a good go at keeping that one in. Couldn't quite get up to it.
Off the line, guys, off the line.
Grant Shields comes across to give Rennick his instructions. Going again for a 5+1 line out. Wallace Nelson standing there. The +1 as Shields races to the back. There's a lifter. Nelson breaks away, thought about passing, goes himself. Rudy Brown has to chase in to win that. Away goes Shields, there's space in front of him. Surely can't go all the way himself. He may well. He looks for support on the inside, finds it from Rudy Brown, who's dragged down right in the goal line. He does touch it down though. The referee awards the try, and Rudy Brown goes over for his second try of the evening and gives the Southern Knights a real lifeline there.
Number 6 of Rudy Brown, Knights 19, Heriot's 24.
The Southern Knights 19, Heriot's 24. The conversion to come, and about 4 minutes left in this.
Yeah, just started to up the ante and, you know, put a little bit of pressure on him when all the Heriot's players were congested in the same area. Rudy Brown just found, Charlie Shields, sorry, found the space, and it was a great break from him. Managed to find the space, eat it up very, very quickly, and the supporting line from Brown was excellent as well. You can see here from the replay, you can see Wallace Nelson just off the maul, looks to set up the platform, and Shields spots that there's a little gap, rolls it into his hands, and notice that Linus is the weak link there, steps back in field, and it's a great offload and power from Rudy Brown to get over the line and dot the ball down eventually. There wasn't much left in terms of field position to get the ball down, but you can see what Shield brings to this team. You know, he's been a great acquisition for this fixture. And he certainly set up a good platform there for Rudy Brown to get the score.
Still just 18 years old. Scotland under-20 player. And with just over 3 minutes left, it's a 3-point game. And Southern Knights in possession, back in their 22. Look to play way up out the 22, they've escaped. Up to halfway, looking for support now. And Chalmers in possession, hit hard as he tried to find his centre partner, Patrick Anderson. Still the Southern Knights and Wallace Nelson in possession. Again, an injury brings a halt to play. I think it's Chalmers that's down. But the intensity in the last 2 or 3 minutes has just gone up a couple of notches. The Knights realise that they can perhaps win this one.
Knock on in the tackle. Oh, how long? About 3.
That was a great break there from the Knights, and you can see they're certainly wanting to try and go for the jugular now. They've got their tails up, they're going for it. And it was a great break, but you could see the covering defence there. It was Bobby Kay who managed to get across and put on a great hit on Chalmers. Chalmers was just getting to the position where he was getting the ball in his hands to, you know, to feed his winger, to feed Finn Douglas and give him a little bit of space. And he was just hit at the right time by Bobby Kay just before he released the ball. And it was great covering defence from Heriot's, because Southern Knights looked like they could have exploited some gaps in the defence.
About 2.5.
What do you mean already?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. More is good.
Chalmers certainly needing a bit of time on the ground with that injury. It was obviously a big hit from Kay. Kay's not a big guy, you know, he's not a big player, but he was able to cover the field and clatter him when he was just about to release Finn Douglas.
Chalmers back on his feet. He's certainly going to have to leave the field here, but good to see him back up. Bobby Kay comes across just to give him a little pat on the back. Nice touch.
Got a sub for him, Callum. It's just going to be up here. You step up.
I'm just looking to see who the Southern Knights have brought on.
Okay, time back on. White scrum, knock on in the tackle.
So there was a knock on in the tackle by Heriot. So the Southern Knights giving themselves a try line through Rudy Brown. Kyle McGee is, in fact, that's the man on for Robbie Chalmers.
Come on.
Crouch. Bind. Set.
And the whole Southern Knights backline stacked away to their left.
Yeah, nice, stay
Ball
on.
certainly going to come back to Shield from the scrum and just hits the new man, crashes into contact. Out it goes to Campbell. Good footwork away on that far side by Colvin. The Knights just inching their way upfield, and Bow this time. Replacement prop, Dutch international. And once again, it's the new man, Kyle McGee, that's involved in the action. Rennick. And Heriot's defence refusing to let the Knights cross their 10-metre line. Once again, it's Campbell. Makes a metre or two, and Bow flying in there to secure possession. And now the Knights decide to go wide. Ball out to Colvin, comes on at pace. Tackled midway between the Heriot's 22 and 10-metre line. Demerel had that huge charge just after he came on the field. Very flat pass there to Jamie Campbell.
He's falling.
And Shield already seen how dangerous he can be round the fringes, finds Demerel. Turned over by Heriot. And Steele puts boot to ball there and sends the Southern Knights all the way back. We'll be hoping that one doesn't run dead. The Knights forced now to run from deep. And in fact, they will kick that. And it may well bounce for Bobby Kay. I think Bobby Kay has scored that, the most unlikely of tries. It bounced off the head of Pecure and stayed in the field of play. And Bobby Kay on hand and touches that down. And as the Knights tried to force things from their own 22, caught in two minds and decided to kick.
Dave, do you know what that was scored on?
And Bobby Kay has won the game for the visitors.
Yeah, it is the most unlikely try you'll see. You can see Crawford gets back into the in-goal area and just goes, we need to go. So he tries to get Finn Douglas into some space. He looks to clear the ball, and just off screen there, Pecure gets it to the noggin, and the ball goes downfield, and Bobby Kay's the man that gets the ball down. Douglas just couldn't find the space to try and exploit with his pace. And Bobby Kay, brilliant score there from
If you take the time, that's it.
the number 22 that came off the bench. A Heriot's man through and through.
Dave, can you just give
He's
me times?
had a good impact in the last 5 minutes. An excellent hit on Robbie Chalmers, and then a score at the death.
So Bruce Houston looking to add the extras here, and then Dale, we will name your FOSROC Super 6 Player of the Match. Bruce Houston immaculate with the boot once again. And this will be the last action of the game. 5 metres in from the stand side touchline. Never in doubt. Right through the middle of the uprights. And with that, referee Holly Davidson blows for full time.
Number 10, Bruce Houston, converts the Heriots try, taking the final score to Knights 21. Heriots.
And it is Heriots who will go back to Golden Acre with a 10-point victory. Southern Knights 21, Heriot's Rugby 31. And Dale, your FOSROC Super 6 Player of the Match.
Yeah, he's on the losing side. It was a bit of a toss-up between Linus and Brown, and not just because they were try scorers, they were really good in the loose. And I think when it came down to the supporting lines and what they'd done for their team, I think Rudy Brown perhaps just did a little bit more. He set the tone in defence. I feel that back row with Nelson, Derek, it's really abrasive, but in defence they get through a power of work, and I think Rudy Brown was at the heart of all that. 2 good scores as well from open play. Linus very unlucky because he's obviously for player of the match because he got 2 close range tries from them all, but I think Rudy Brown just a little bit better in the loose overall, and you know, just unfortunately they've ended up on the losing side.
So a thoroughly entertaining evening here at the Greenyards. 3 tries for the Southern Knights, but Heriot's Rugby with that bonus point at the death. And they will go home with the win. The final score here at the Greenyards, the Southern Knights 21, Heriot's Rugby 31.
Welcome back to the Greenyards. What a win for the visitors this evening. Heriots, they had the advantage in the league. They got the win this evening. My goodness, O'Dale, it was a scrappy way to win the match, but they won it anyway, didn't they?
Yeah, they were made to work for it right until the end, and I thought Southern Knights were going to maybe snatch it right at the death, but I think the cameo from Bobby Kay certainly kind of put paid to that. A great tackle in midfield on Robbie Chalmers, and then a slightly unorthodox try at the end, but he managed to get it down after some good work, charging it, well, not charging it down, Pecure got it in the face, but some good work in the open field from the Heriot's boys as well.
We thought that Charlie Shield had made a big difference for the Southern Knights as well. He got he just showed a lot of pace towards the end of the match. The Knights got back into the game, but once again they just weren't able to hang on to that advantage.
No, I think they had far too many mistakes. I said in commentary that I think if they were hitting their lineouts that they perhaps would have been in a better position in the game. If not, they would have won it, because there was a lot of missed throws in good areas in the 22s. I think those unforced errors really, put to paid any chance of the Southern Knights winning the game. They were sloppy in terms of their set piece. The scrum was really good actually, but their lineouts were poor. But the cameo, not the cameo, but the appearance from Charlie Shield, his explosiveness behind the ruck, making that break for the try for Rudy Brown. It almost looked like the Southern Knights could have snatched it, but it wasn't to be, and Heriot's got a try right at the death.
And one of the kind of amazing things about the second half, of course, is that Heriot's had the 3-point advantage going into the half. There was a bit of huffing and puffing going on at the beginning of the second half, but they did get a try early. Sam Pecure getting over there and taking it really well in the 59th minute.
Yeah, it was a bit of a tetchy opening first few minutes for the second half, but it was great work there, drawing the man and just putting Pecure into some space. It was really well worked, but again that came from Ewan McCara, the scrum half there, just finds a little bit of space, goes for the gap, and manages to release a supporting player who draws David Colvin and puts Pecure in some space. So, a textbook try. It took a bit of time to get going because either team had chances for the penalty. They could have taken the 3 points, but you could see that both teams were wanting tries this evening. They both wanted to try and get maximum points from the game. And that was the start of it for Heriot's there.
It was, and he was playing pretty well, and you could almost imagine that he might have been up for man of the match as well, because he had a pretty good game, old Sam there. He was up for everything. He was always involved, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think he's a winger that works hard. He's got a lot of experience. He's a very skillful player. He comes off his wing. I think probably a bit unlike Winters on the Knights wing. I don't think he worked as hard as what Pecure perhaps did. But he was one of those players that comes with bags of experience, and he's really explosive in attack, and he manages to wriggle out of contact quite easy. But that was a relatively easy try for him there.
It was indeed. Well, we're going to take a short break, and we'll get back and we'll speak to Dale. After the break, we're also going to speak to the FOSROC Super 6 Player of the Match and the winning coaches as well. Welcome back. You have just missed Southern Knights losing to Heriots here by 21 points to 31. In front of us we have Rudy Brown, the FOSROC Super6 Player of the Match, alongside the Southern Knights captain Russell Anderson. So Rudy, first of all to you, frustrating. Congratulations, you're Player of the Match, but frustrating to lose the game.
Yeah, it's getting towards the end. I thought we were going to get back into it after our last try, but we dug in, but we just didn't really get the rub of the green in the end. So.
It was tough, wasn't it, Russell? Because, I mean, you were getting back into it. It was a great try by you, Rudy, in fact, but we'll watch it in a wee minute or two. But my goodness, we thought, with Charlie Shield there kind of pulling the strings, you were going to get back in and win this match. We've seen you winning here before so often at the last minute, but how gutting was that to not do that?
Yeah, it is. It's really gutting. I mean, fair play to Charlie. By that kind of last 10 minutes, he was really kicking off the pace. It's disappointing, but unfortunately you can't expect to win games when you're in an arm wrestle with Heriots like that if you give too many penalties away, so that's what kind of killed us today, I think.
I guess that's the thing, Rudy, isn't it? I mean, penalties, discipline's clearly key, and there were points when you got ahead in the first half, gave away kind of cheap penalties, they kicked to the corner and scored. That must be tough and frustrating for you guys as players, because there's other parts of the game that are really sweet.
Yeah, to be honest, something we spoke about before the game. We knew that they'd thrive if we made mistakes. They're just going to kick us down the pitch because Bruce Houston's got a great nudge. So it's something we're going to take forward, try and improve on our discipline. So yeah.
And I guess as well, Heriot's getting the bonus point as well tonight. Kind of puts them that wee bit ahead of you as well.
Yeah, we talked on Tuesday as a group of players to really what we want out of this league and what we want out of the season. And if we're aiming to get top 4, we need to be winning games against Heriots and the likes of Stirling. And we're away to Ayr next week, and then we've got Watsons and the top 2 teams, and going up there and away from home is a tough ask. So yeah, we really need to dig in now.
Yeah, listen, good boys. I know you're freezing, so I know you want to get into the showers. But listen, Russell, thank you very much for coming over. Yeah. And Rudy Brown, you are the FOSROC Super6 Player of the Match, and your captain there will give you the old medal there. And while you smile and cheer and hug and all the rest of it, we'll watch your wonderful second try, and that'll give us a way to get over. Here it is, the great try. This is in the 75th minute of the game. And this was Sam Picura had scored in the 59th minute for Heriots, but this is Rudy Brown going across for his second try of the match. And this was the one, Dale, that was the guy that basically kind of this is the reason that he got the Player of the Match, because it was such great work from the guys, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think there was a couple of reasons why he got Player of the Match. I think that Linus did get 2 tries as well, but his work in open field was quite impressive. And you see here when Charlie Shield finds the gap, he manages just the wrong foot, and he's there in support. Rudy Brown is there in support, working hard on the shoulder to get that the finalising score there for the try. But you can see there what Shield brings to the Knights when he's in the team. He's a snarly little character behind the rucks, and good work from Rudy Brown as well.
Great work from Rudy Brown. You can see the smile on Rory Leishman's face here, because basically you guys got the win tonight, and my goodness, you must be pretty happy with that.
Yeah, very, very happy. I think we don't make it easy for ourselves ever, especially down here. The last 2 times we've done here, we've lost in the last play.
Yes.
So there was a little bit of deja vu nearly, but we dug it out. Great energy off the bench from some of the young boys, Sam and Ewan, and great result in the end to come away with the 5 points. I think.
You have shipped so many points in the final seconds of matches down here in the Greenyards in the past, and your coach Finn was talking about that before the game, and I'm sure he's been talking about it all week as well.
Oh yeah, he's so positive, isn't he? Yeah.
No,
he's right.
Oh yeah, so when that try went over, so what were you thinking then?
The Charlie Shields one down the Rudy Brown's one. We just had to get back down there. We knew if we kick it long and stay down there for the next, we knew there was only a few minutes left, that we'd be in with a good chance of sealing it out. But in the good old, like we do, we let them run straight back up the pitch again and made it a bit more difficult for ourselves. But yeah, great character to chase the kick and put pressure on them right at the end and get over the line.
It was interesting because Dale, who's standing beside you, said that your bench was probably stronger than the Southern Knights bench, and Bobby Kay came on, a massive hit, and then he got the try as well. Yeah. So only on for 5 minutes, but did a lot of damage.
Yep. Yeah, no, he's a great tackler. He's tackled like that for the last few years. He's been unbelievable. Here we go.
This is a weird old moment, though. I mean, this is the kick off the back of the Bonds. Beautifully worked. A beautifully worked try. You never get a better one than that. But I guess you've got to be there. If you're just on the pitch, you've got to react to what's happening, and that's what you guys did.
Absolutely. We knew they were going to run it because it was the last play. We knew they had to go the length, and they decided kick it, and great work, great from Bobby to get right in there, because he had to really work hard. He came a long way to get there, and right off Sam's head as well.
I guess as well. I mean, Dale, it was a good win, and more importantly, the bonus point win for these guys as well.
Yeah, I think we said at half time it was really tight. Between the two sides, it was really, really close, and you could see how much it meant. You had a lot of niggles in the packs up front. There was a lot of kind of argy-bargy, but I think when it came to the end, I think Heriot's just had a little bit too much power for them. There was a couple of barnstorming runs from Southern Knights into contact, but I think that there was just a little bit too much energy from Heriot's, and I think it showed at that last try that the energy to actually put pressure on the clearance kick and then get there, to put the ball down. It was an impressive second half from Heriot's.
Absolutely. So there's the score: 31 points to Heriot, 21 to Southern Knights. Tomorrow, Watsonians against Boroughmuir Bears, and then Stirling Wolves way at the bottom of the FOSROC Super 6 welcome Ayrshire Bulls to Bridgehaw. And let's look at the table just now and see Heriot's getting that bonus point win up to 15 points. They are sitting in third, having played 6 games, of course, and they have had that slight advantage, but a big win for them tonight. Well, from everyone here, it's been an absolutely pulsating game, a huge win for Heriot's, and Southern Knights will be very frustrated indeed. Lots more Super 6 coming this weekend and beyond. From all of us here, thank you so much for your company. Bye for now.